All right, you guys, good morning. I had was it Justin? I think it was Justin asking. Justin was asking about fence and gates. So we're going to go through, this is going to be probably a couple part series video because your attention span is not long enough to stick through this thing the whole way. So we'll go through some parts. Today is prep day. Yesterday we ended up flat tire, which was Sunday. Today's Monday. And preparation is key. I particularly like to do preparation by myself. That's just how I like to do it. I like to be able to meditate. I like to look at the job. I like to pretend it's my business. It's my establishment. How would I want it? The variables, the problems. For us up here in Michigan, we have snowfall. So I like to make sure there's room for snowfall to be pushed away. Every job is different, which is what I love about this job. This place, they have all kinds of equipment. They have skid steers to huge loaders to semis so I'm going to make sure there's enough room for a skid steer to get behind it to clear it out, because that's what they're going to probably do, because, you know, we're just Americans and we're kind of lazy sometimes. So I'm going to show you around here real quick. So first of all, you always get a string. A string is your best friend. Right now we're shooting across. Let's use the old chunk of angle. I like to use a box or a board to make my squares. This is actually where the gate's going to go and slide. These, for this gate, we're trying to get as much span out of here because our gate is not going to reach end to end like it normally is right now. That gate over there is that's not long enough. So we're doing 10 foot apart. Sometimes you do 10, sometimes you do 15, depending on the size of the gate. Over here, obviously we got to cut some concrete. There's some old marks from the other guy that was here, but I got to do new marks, some fresh. He told me these ones weren't on anyways for spacing. So get yourself a string, some angle, a sludge hammer, and you go to town, take a look at everything, evaluate it, meditate with it. We're going 5 feet off this fence, because obviously we told the customer, hey, if we take your fence down, you have no securement for a while. So I said, let's just bring it back 5 foot. And it's not like they don't have enough room around here. Look at this place. That's huge. It's huge. All right, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to start getting some more marks done. Get that puppy cut out. Got ourselves a sheet of concrete. Just a side note. I like the white bag concrete. I think it's stronger. It looks nicer at the top. Has a nicer finish. More cream to it. But the place I deal with, well, that's all they got in stock. And I didn't want to deal with the box stores because sometimes they're knuckleheads. And so I just dealt with a local hardware, which I like supporting local, which is always good. But it's just, I wish they would carry the white bags, which is actually a higher PSI, better. It's a little more expensive, but I think it's worth it. And this stuff's good for like just in the ground, you never see it again. But when you do your finish on top, which is going to be over here where those couple gate posts are going to be, I always like to be able to come back in 5-10 years and it looks nice and it's not all pitted and gone. You know, this is a kind of a rough area, but you never know. They might plant some flowers. Okay, so what's next on the list here? I don't like to put a lot of thought into things, so I like to have one of these big tape measures. This is a 300 footer, but you don't really need one that big. It's just what I got. So the biggest thing you don't want to do is you don't want to shortchange yourself on this gate. I don't know if I've ever done it, but I know one of the techs did it before, and it is no fun that you do all this hard work. So anyways, I measure the whole gate. This gate is approximately 33 feet. What I just did over here is I actually put my hammer on the one end of it and I drug it across. And I like to leave about a foot. I like to have a foot of wiggle room. Now granted, my pole is going to be here, not so much there. So I get a little bit there, but I think this is going to be my latch post over here. You know, so you imagine there's a pole, and I'll show you down the road here once we get stuff installed. So here's my latch. I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm going to move it over. And what I've thought in my theory too is a little bit is that this pole, I look for signs. God is talking to me. This pole right here is over this way a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move that over just a little bit so I got more wiggle room. Then I got my spacing. We did 8'4". Got my marks. I like to put a dot and I like to put big so when you're in the skidster, you know where you're going for. Big boy stuff. So I'll get that dot moved over there. And away we go. So another thing you want to check for is we did have Miss Dig come out. We got utilities. They didn't do a very good job as far as I'm concerned. They seem like they've gotten kind of slouchy over the years, but what I do is I actually check. This is obviously theirs. Somebody put this in back in the day. Got a sewer line, sewer here. I check that that's dead already before I do any cutting, before I do any digging. So if somebody comes out here and goes, hey, that outlet's not working anymore ever since you put the fence in, I go, it didn't work when I got here. Doesn't mean the breaker's not off. There is a building up there though that I'm concerned about. So I'm going to take it real easy. I'm assuming because there's existing, but a lot of utility companies have a tendency to go along the driveway. And I don't know how long this mound of dirt was here. That seems like it'd be an easy way to come around the side here, do your trenching, but this area would have been a danger zone. They wouldn't want to go through here. You'd see busted up stuff. So I'm going to take it real easy with my cutting. Yeah, I wish the utilities would have done a little better job. We shall see. All right, you guys, let's do a little visit here of what's going on. So asphalt, if you didn't know, they normally do, I think it's 1.5 lifts is their thickness. So they'll do like a base and then do their final coat. So this is probably right about 3 inches. That's a little heavy on that one, but right over there, that's about 3 inches. So that's what you're going to run into unless they go over it again in the future, another layer, you know, skimming over it. So I ended up, I screwed up a little bit. I realized my line where my box should have been moved over. So when I drill, I'll have a straight line. It's complicated. So I corrected. I cut this little chunk out on each corner. We're good now. We're looking somewhat symmetrical to this other fence line existing. So the beautiful thing is I'm at an asphalt place that takes rubble. So my cleanup is like super awesome. It's just right there. So I can go right into that pile. If you're ever looking for a setup, this one, that's a Milwaukee pump. I don't know the model. It's got a M18, I believe. Yeah. Works fantastic for a pump out in the field. I cut this one first dry and it was just dust everywhere. I was sick of it. So instead I dealt with a little bit of mud and dust. Got a tank. Got to have a female and female. So this takes a while to set up. You know, it ain't something you just go to the hardware store. There's a lot of parts that are involved in this thing. I don't think people realize. I don't know. I mean, you got the saw, you got the gas. I mean, it's nice to have equipment. You know, you got headphones, we got power pack, which I showed. I don't know, that thing will run this air compressor. I'm impressed. It doesn't affect it at all. So I'm really impressed with that. Got radio. I mean, you gotta have a radio, right? I mean, that's necessary. Not really. So yeah, we're coming. Probably next, clean up my little mess here. I'll start digging some holes, get my asphalt cleaned up, run my string again, mark them in the holes there where the auger's got to go, and we'll be rocking and rolling.